is a tough matchup. This is Annabelle versus Malekith. I really don't know for crypts. There's so much wood lacking. I have the impression that there's another town nearby. Oh, this guy's such a slow player. Your return is slow.
Let's dive deeper into the Sheldon Keefe firing with our assembled panel. Brian Hayes is here, Marty Biron, and our Leafs reporter Mark Masters joining us as well. Mark, let's start with you. The Leafs were one goal away from advancing to the second round. Instead, another early exit, and now Sheldon Keefe is out of a job. What do you think led to the Leafs making this decision?
Well, general manager Brad Treliving called him a great man and an excellent coach. He also gave him a contract extension less than a year ago. But it all comes down to one playoff series win in 5 seasons. And Sheldon Keefe himself said it on Monday. It's a results business. His team has not achieved what they were expected to achieve. He, more than anyone, seemed to see this coming. A lot of the same issues have popped up as well. You know, a lack of scoring in the playoffs, a lack of power play success. There are other issues here, of course. You know, roster construction, individual player performance. But in today's NHL, it always comes down to the coach being the first to fall.
Marty, do you think the firing was the right call?
Yeah, it was. And the coaching is like goaltending, right? You got to win if you want to stay ahead of the game and keep your job. If you lose, somebody else is going to take your job. And yes, Mark mentioned the playoff failure for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it wasn't only that. In the last 5 years, Tampa Bay was better in that division. Boston was better in that division. Florida is better in that division. So you expect the Toronto Maple Leafs to be one of the top, if not the top team in that Atlantic division, and they weren't. And in those 5 years, they got one division title. Oh, yeah, it was the North Division in the COVID season. So they didn't really compete in the regular season with these other teams, and they didn't compete in the playoffs. So for that reason, yes, it was the right call.
Brian, if this is the only major move that the Leafs make in the offseason, is it enough to make a significant difference?
No, it's not. And that would be massively disappointing, I think, for every Leaf fan if this is the only major move they make. They have to go above and beyond this, right? We know their track record in the playoffs. It's been well stated. I think coaching can be responsible for 5% of that, maybe 10%. That means 90 to 95% is on the players. And the core four players, this team does not score goals. They don't score goals in the playoffs. They have the best goal scorer in the world. He's coming back. I'm not suggesting Matthews is going anywhere. Willie's coming back, but the core four has got to be broken up. Samsonov is not coming back. That means your game one starter this year and last year is not here anymore. That's a big hole to fill. So you got to find that net, and I think there's going to be turnover on defense as well. There's got to be significant player personnel changes moving forward.
Mark, the Leafs say that their search begins now. How quickly do you think they'll want to identify their top choice?
We'll get a better sense at Friday morning's news conference, but I got to think this is going to move very quickly. It's not like they don't know what they need. When Keefe was hired, it was his first NHL job. He had won a Calder Cup at the AHL level, but it's pretty clear they need someone to get him over the hump in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They'll be looking for someone with that type of resume, and there are other job openings out there right now. That position in New Jersey's got to be pretty attractive to any of the free agent coaches, and the rest of the Leafs staff deserves to have some clarity on their status sooner than later. So I'm expecting this to move pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would think there's a short list of candidates: Craig Berube, Todd McClellan, two of my favorite top of the list when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs job. And, I know Brett Treliving did not hire Sheldon Keefe when he made the jump from the AHL to the NHL. But usually after a coach has been fired, you go the opposite direction. Sheldon Keefe was a first-time NHL head coach, came from within the organization and from the AHL. The Leafs are not looking at the AHL. They're not looking within the organization, and they're definitely not looking at a first-time NHL head coach. So experience, like Berube, like Todd McClellan, is going to be a factor in this.
I think this is actually going to be a bit of a dicey proposition moving forward, because I understand there's other vacancies out there, and Craig Berube, I think, is a really good coach that would fit in well here, and he's not going to wait around. But what if Rod Brind'Amour ends up not signing back in Carolina? These are the things that Brad Treliving Company have to consider at this point, because Rod Brind'Amour is the man. If you can get him and you bring up his whole staff, by all accounts, that's an issue down in Carolina, that he wants everyone to be paid appropriately. No one will pay more than the Maple Leafs. I'm going back to the way they treated Mike Babcock. They said, we're not going to accept losing this guy. The problem is, Brind'Amour's playing tonight. Yeah. He's still in the playoffs. He's not going to give you an answer by tomorrow morning at the press conference. But do they have the stomach to wait it out and possibly get in there and not just pay him, overpay him? Because Rod Brind'Amour, if you could bring him up here, that's a game changer. I like Berube, I like McClellan, I like other options, and they're right there in front of you. And if it's only money, you can probably have them in town by tomorrow. Do you have the stomach, if you're the Maple Leafs, to wait and possibly go up there and get Rod Brind'Amour?
You wonder if enough money could sway him to come north, because he lives and breathes in Carolina his whole entire life. He's a legend down there. That would be a massive career move for Rod Brind'Amour. The Leafs, going to want to move quickly, because the Devils, Sharks, Kraken, Jets, and the Kings also in the market for a head coach.
Drive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hazio, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Ryan Rashog later in the hour on the Oilers choking away a 4-1 lead last night.
That might sting. That stings, man. We talk about Colorado looking like somewhat of a team of destiny the way they smoked in game 1 of the first series, and then they just trashed the Jets. Down 3 Cobb, they come back and win. That's positive. But when you do it on the other side, it'll bite you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll get it sooner or later. Like one more of those, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree with you there.
Got to have a response. That's what it is. I mean, and Vancouver, they deserved that win. They played well. They played with structure. They didn't give up in that game, and I thought the game was over at 4-1. I really did. That Hyman goal was a bad goal, and they didn't look like they. Even though Vancouver kind of had some territorial advantage, like they didn't have much going. And a 5 to 7 minute difference in that game, and Edmonton lost.
Yeah, that's it. And it's only one game. It's on the road. Credit to Vancouver. I mean, the story generally is more about who blew the lead. It's McDavid. He didn't play well last night. Something's up with Draisaitl. But Vancouver could have packed it in as well, down 4-1, right? They could have shut the lights off, and it was quiet in that building. Naturally, they were shell-shocked. Hyman scored 2 minutes into the game on the power play.
Well, they took a too many men penalty with 40 seconds into the game.
Immediately. And then Ekholm walks down Broadway. He scores. It's 2-0, and Oilers are going nuts. And at that point, it felt like, okay, pack it in. Let's see what happens game 2. And I got a lot of credit and a lot of time for Vancouver because, we saw what they just did against Nashville, and they did it last night too.
Yeah.
Like that's to have that kind of perseverance and keep playing.
That's the playoffs, Hayes.
Well, I hear you, but it's not for every team.
No,
Yeah.
we know that.
Yeah. Like
No,
it happens with some teams.
Yeah,
and other
if you
teams
want to go
don't.
the distance, like there's going to be nights you're down 4-1, you got to find a way to come back and get a victory.
Yep.
Like if you want 16 of them, a couple of them got to be like that. Obviously, don't take your chances too many times, but if it's 7-1, you kind of say, let's get through this and maybe try to hurt somebody, blah, blah, blah. But 4-1, you got to keep playing, man, and you never know what the hell can happen.
That's what happened. That's what Florida did to Boston. They kept playing and kept pouring it on. And to me, Edmonton took their foot off the gas. The 4-2 goal was the goal that changed everything for me. At 4-1, completely controlled. They go to wrap it around. It hits Skinner's stick and goes in. Like he just didn't play well, and neither did anybody on that team. Here, late in the second period, this is a wraparound. Goes a step out. That hits Skinner's stick. It doesn't hit Nurse's stick. That hits Skinner's stick and goes in the net. And it's just an errant play. But that gave Vancouver life. All of a sudden, you're 2 shots out of it, heading into the third period in your own building. That hits his stick, not anybody else's. Goes in the net. Like these are small details. But that being said, in Game 2, Stuart Skinner did not play well. They lost 5-4 to LA.
Yep.
He bounced back, I think, with a shutout, and then they won 6-1 and then had a shutout. Vice versa. I can't remember. But he played well. He's got to play better. McDavid's got to be better. And we'll see if Draisaitl's healthy. I mean, that guy's a horse. We'll figure out what is wrong with him, but he's going to play.
Even if he's hurt, he plays.
Yeah.
He plays.
But he looked like he was laboring.
Yeah.
Like that did not look good.
No,
that
it didn't.
Like,
And they cited cramps, but
cramping.
We'll see. Yeah, Rashog later in the hour. Doogie just sent me that I guess there's a TV series in the work on Shohei Ohtani's ex-interpreter. And
What is that show going to be, though? It's like a one-episode show. I guess it could be kind of cool.
That, man.
This
It's
is
way
years of
deeper than
abuse.
that.
This guy, it sounds like he pleaded guilty to 18 million in fraud?
They're saying this guy could do like 30 years in jail. I don't know. I mean, this is a white-collar crime, although it is fraud.
Dude, who cares? Go to jail for 30 years, steal $17 million off someone?
Yeah. I don't know.
Although in Toronto
30
here,
years seems-
there's
yeah.
some guys at the airport that stole $20 million worth of gold, and they were
walking on the
walking
street.
around downtown in the afternoon.
Exactly. That's the thing. If this guy was up here, he'd have no issues whatsoever.
Yeah,
Hey,
Get him
guys,
back
don't
out.
do that again. Make sure you're back for your court date.
Yeah. Do us a favor.
Hold on, give me your hand. I'm going to
Yeah.
slap you on the
Yeah.
wrist, and away you go.
$20 million worth of gold they stole, and
Yeah.
they went and said hi to somebody at the
Yeah.
courthouse, and they left that afternoon. That
Right.
is so
Insanity.
insane.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, this interpreter, I think he's out. Is he not on bail or what? I don't know what's going on with him, but I guess, there could be a TV series in the works. And
I would watch it.
I'd probably check that out.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd want to know what's
Because it'd be
what's
funny
going
if
on
he
there.
was like in the dugout looking at his iWatch like college hoops, and he'd be like, "Oh man, that sucks,"
I
and,
know.
and then trying to deal with Ohtani at the same time.
He'd have to be. Like, this guy was making, by all accounts, this guy was making tens of thousands of bets. You know how tough that is to make that many bets? Like, you're betting on everything, and you're betting blind. Like, that guy's just saying, give me the 10 dogs tonight.
Yeah.
In pickleball in South Florida. Just give me the dogs across the board. Like, just blind betting. Because there's no possible way that you could ever track all of that and even know what you're betting on when you're making that many bets. Like, that's just looking at the board like an NFL Sunday and saying, give me all the road teams. Click. Yeah, okay. All the road teams it is. Yeah. So, yeah, that could be a TV series in the works. All right, Rashog later in the hour. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Here's Pierre LeBrun, our TSN Hockey Insider. How you doing, Pierre?
I'm all right, guys. What's going on?
Well, up here, obviously, we're buzzing about the Sheldon Keefe news today as the Leafs let him go this morning. Certainly no one's surprised by that.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of it. I think everyone's, was bracing for it. I guess we'll start with Sheldon. Like, what do you see his future looking like in the NHL?
Yeah, I think he'll be in demand. I think the question for Sheldon right now, and by the way, I thought the video that he put out was really classy and well done and speaks to understanding the market that he's leaving. And I thought it was a really neat way to communicate his goodbyes. But I think the question for Sheldon, and his 2-year extension pays him just under $3 million US, and it kicks in next year. So he can choose to be picky here if he wants. One of the things that I've found over the years is that's rarely the case. That coaches, no matter how talented they are not normally as confident as a player would be, and that coaches often will jump at the first thing because there's so few jobs. But he certainly could choose to be picky. As I tweeted earlier today, the Devils have interest in talking to him. We'll see how that plays out. I mean, obviously they've talked to other candidates as well. And we'll see if other teams, want to pick up permission to talk to him. But I think the key thing here is, he's got just under $6 million US coming at him either way. Does he wait out the cycle or does he jump right back in? And obviously only Sheldon Keefe can answer that.
What's the time frame on the replacement, Pierre?
I think Brad Treliving is going to want to get at this as quickly as possible. Like, not a rush, I would say, but certainly, I think you'll start probably seeing, drips and drabs of reports over the coming days that he's already talked to X and planning to talk to so on and so on. I don't think they want this to drag on. And I think some of the names that you guys have already talked about have been out there are obvious. I think Craig Berube is a pretty big name on this list. I think Tom McClellan, Gerard Bland, those are all possibilities. And, like others have pointed out, I think you do have, if you're the Leafs, I think you do have to at least investigate what the heck's going on in Carolina.
Yes.
Don Waddell was on record a few days ago saying they will get Rob Brind'Amour signed.
Oh, yeah?
But until that is done, I think people will obviously wonder, given, the owner there and what Mayor, how this thing plays out. So that's certainly another thing that
I'd be all over that, man.
Yeah.
I'd be all over it.
On that.
Yeah, I'd Lawrence Frank it with Kawhi. Remember Lawrence Frank used to just fly in and watch Kawhi play? I'd have Larry Tannenbaum behind the bench in Carolina tonight. Right behind the bench. By the whole row up.
With an old Brind'Amour Kane jersey.
Yes. Yeah, I'd have a Flyers jersey, a Canes jersey, a Blues jersey. I'd have it all. I'd have everyone set up right behind the bench.
You know what, though, Pierre? I wanted to... What about Joel Quenneville? Like, what? I know the league has to make a decision and all that, but like listen, I'm biased towards Joel. I had him in the late 90s. Yes, I don't know if you guys saw the interview he did with Andy Strickland. He talked about, what he's gone through, accepts responsibility, all of that type of stuff. He's an unbelievable Hall of Fame coach who's won cups. Like, does Quenneville's name get bandied about in the circles, or is it just, until the league kind of releases him or whatever they have to do with him, is it just kind of a non-factor?
It's kind of been a non-factor so far. Honestly, and we've asked Gary Bettman from time to time that we're going to meetings, GM meetings. I don't know if we did it last time, the GM meetings in March, but we've asked him from time to time for an update on that. Has Joel Quenneville, does he have the green light to come back and coach? And Bettman has said no. But we haven't asked the commissioner in a while. But that's where it starts. Gary Bettman has to feel comfortable that Joel Quenneville is coaching again. And I don't know exactly where's that at. I would have to ask the league again. But and the other part of that, and listen, obviously the Stanley Cup speak for themselves. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But the Leafs would have to feel comfortable from a marketplace-wise and reaction-wise about how the market would react. Given what transpired in Chicago and the price that Quenneville has paid, and do people feel that he's earned the right to come back and coach? Those are all things I think, if you're the Leafs, that you would have to talk about internally, right? That's just real life.
Pierre, is this basically the band's coming back next year as far as the player personnel on this hockey team, and then you deal with things as they run themselves at a time, i.e. contracts? Like, is that basically what's going to go down here?
I'm not sure about that. I think that's still a developing discussion. I won't be there tomorrow. Obviously, I'm in Dallas, but I look forward to seeing how things are getting positioned tomorrow at the big news conferences, and especially with Keith.
Well, what are you looking to hear, Pierre? Like, you think they're going to actually say anything riveting? Like,
Well, I'll tell you, Brad Treliving's past is that he's a pretty straight shooter. Honestly, he has talked about his plans in a pretty straightforward manner in the past. Now, whether or not he gets ordered by his superiors to clam up, we'll see. That's what I mean. I want to see how tomorrow plays out with both of his bosses there with him. But in the past, when he was GM in Calgary and during his time since he's been in Toronto, don't you agree that every time he's done media in Toronto and he's talked about what he was trying to do and what he's looking to do, he's been pretty transparent. So that's what I'm saying. I'm curious tomorrow whether he addresses whether or not he will listen on some of his core guys. And let's face it, we're not talking about every core guy. We're talking about specific players here. But again, I feel like a broken record, but, part of this was because I kind of wondered whether this is how all this would play out. But for months now, we've discussed the fact that I believe last summer was the lost window, because before July 1st last year, Marner did not have a full no move. Nylander didn't have a full no move. I'm not saying I'd move those guys. I'm just saying that after July 1st last year, things got a lot more difficult in terms of the lack of leverage for Leafs management with a lot of their players. So makes it even more difficult to navigate now.
What about management in general? Do you just expect, Keith Pelley, Brendan Shanahan, Brad Treliving, everyone has the same role? And everyone's got the same position, and we just you move on as a three-pack, or could there be something up on that front?
Well, the one thing I think that we'll see during this summer, and it may not be headline grabbing, but I think Brad Treliving will continue to put his touches on the people that he wants working around him. He really didn't do a whole lot of that when he got hired last year. And I think you'll start to see some people that he brings in that he's either worked with before, or people that he knows and trusts. So I think that's one thing to look for over the coming months. The fact that Keith Pelley and Brendan Shanahan are both sharing the same news suggests to me what I'm sure it suggests to you guys, that Brendan Shanahan's not going anywhere. And, listen, he's got term left on his contract. And I just wonder if part of this is Keith Pelly wanting to give himself time to get a better read of the room and decide his next move here and not rush into it.
Yeah. Don't you think that's one of the things, too? Keith Pelly's been on the job about a month. And
that's what I mean.
It's really hard for him to assess. Brendan Shanahan, he's just developing a relationship with him, Brad Treliving. So that's what, but doesn't he take his, direction from the board? Like the board's been watching this for 10 years. And, that's what's kind of perplexing is when they announced that, Treliving, Shanny, and Keith Pelly were going to be talking on Friday, it just says that nothing's changing up top. And, I think there are some people that are frustrated going, well, the Shannon plan, we're going to need a different Shannon plan here. Hopefully that's something that they will lay out tomorrow. I don't think they will, but, the organization might have to take a different direction. And that might be just giving more leeway to Brad Treliving to say, now you can shape the team. You kind of jumped on a moving train last year, but have at it and see what you can do with this team.
Yeah, and Noodle, I guess that's going to be unpopular right now to all the Leaf fans listening to Overdrive, but there are two ways to gauge success when you're running the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's obviously the on-ice success, which has not been nearly good enough. One playoff series.
Money.
There it is. You can say what you want, but under Brendan Shanahan, this has been a stable business operation printing money. Now, of course, it's always made money, but you asked me a question, Noodles, about the board, and the board would look at that side of it and say, you know what? A lot of stability and a lot of money coming in. And again, that's not all my friends pretty much are Leaf fans. They hate that part of the conversation, but it's also real life. And I'm not saying that's justification to keep Brendan Shanahan on, but I also think it'd be naive for us to never bring it up. I mean, come on. It's a business, and they've had an entertaining hockey team that makes the playoffs every year and prints money. Hockey-wise, complete disappointment. You can't have some of the best players in the world in your roster for all these years and never punch through. Completely, that's too little. But it's not just about hockey. And again, I know there are people listening right now wanting to probably punch me in the face, but that's reality.
Yeah.
What does this board do, guys? Like other teams, like the Carolina Hurricanes, Tom Dundon, Don Waddell team coach. What exactly is the board doing? Do you, like, sit in a boardroom after every game and say we got to fix the power play, or what's going on with this board? Honestly, what are they like? What's up with the board? Tell me, Pierre, in detail. Well,
I mean, I think that's the most important part, probably. But, it's the business empire, which has many different parts to it, and they meet and they get updates. They want to hear that things are smooth.
All right, Pierre, let me ask you this, right? Because everyone's talking Marner, Tavares. Let's say hypothetically they both waive and they both say we're open to leave here. What kind of market would you expect for those two players?
Right. I mean, let's start with Tavares, because that's probably the one that, first of all, I don't know why he would have changed his mind from a year ago when he was asked, remember? But let's say that Ethan Buckle's saying, boy, how about that leadership in our room? Because he's respected that way for sure still in terms of his leadership around the league. And then the Leafs would have to eat some of it. So you're not getting $11 million off the books if you're the Leafs. At that point, you got to negotiate. How much is it worth to lose John Tavares, who's still a good player, but knowing that we have to eat some of it next year for his last year. And so that's the step number one. Step number two, I could see some teams that are trying to take the next step saying, we'd love to have that guy in their dressing room. So that would be the scenario with John Tavares. And it goes without saying that it's not a bonanza in terms of a return, and this is about trying to move the last year of his contract. Marner's a different cat, obviously. I think the demand would be through the roof if he was open to that. But
why wouldn't he be open to it, Pierre?
Well, that's the thing. You're asking me the hypothetical if he's open to it. That's what Brian said. So I'm answering that question.
Yeah.
It would be a minimal list. It would be my prediction. I mean, you know, when Matthew, I'll use this example because Brett Treliving was GM, but when Matthew Tkachuk, you know, forced his way out of Calgary, he gave 5 teams. And 2 of those teams were unrealistic on the list, Colorado and Tampa. Those teams had no room to make a trade. But Florida and Carolina and St. Louis were on that list. And so basically Calgary had 3 teams to negotiate a trade with, and they took, at the time, what they felt was the best deal. That's the kind of scenario that you would have with Marner is, okay, he's giving you X amount of teams, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5. And then within those 3 to 5, even though he's a super talented player, some of those teams in that list may not be in a position where it's time for them to make that kind of move for him, given their own cap situation, right? So now you're down to, let's say he gave 4 teams. Now you're down to maybe 2 or 3 that can actually get engaged. There's still a chance that because he's such a special player that you get an arms race between 2 or 3 teams, but that's still a tight margin. And so my point is, and again, I could be wrong, but I don't think you're getting real market value based on a very tight margin of a few teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think there would be a marketplace, but you're right. Like you might end up losing that trade just based on, you know, the player going out in his prime, but you're freeing up cap space and getting some assets back. But definitely, you know, not the same as Mitch Marner. Where I wanted to go, Pierre, is
not to mention. Sorry, there's one last thing. Not to mention players in these situations over the last 4 or 5 years tend to mention the same group of teams all the time.
Exactly.
Right, Vegas, Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
You
know,
I hear you.
Yeah. What about Dallas, Colorado? What do you make of that series? And, you know, has Dallas got to climb back into it because Colorado found a way to get back into it after down 3-0?
Yeah, it's crazy, Noodles. You could feel a bit of the tension this morning here at the morning skates in Dallas because basically the Stars want to avoid doing exactly what they did a round ago and go down 2-0 at home. So it was all business this morning here. They need to tie the series, and you know they're up 3-0 in game 1, and started taking a couple penalties. And I just went from in the first round being around the Oilers and seeing that power play, and then I come here and watch the Colorado power play the other night. Oh my goodness! Yeah, they'll take penalties against Colorado, and that was a spectacular comeback. But yeah, you know they have won 5 in a row. That opening loss in Winnipeg, and they're absolutely humming. And I'll say this about Cale Makar, guys, because you guys know this. The same thing I feel about Connor McDavid. It doesn't matter how many games we watch on TV and watch these guys on TV. When it's been about a year since you watched Cale Makar live in a rink, you realize that you cannot go a year without watching him in a rink live. Oh,
Remind you of Brian Hayes and Barry, or no?
That's the first name that popped to mind, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
But he's just, you know, when he's away from the puck and he starts darting around, you're kind of wondering where he's going and why he's doing that. And then the next thing you know, the puck's on his stick. Oh, my goodness. He is a difficult guy to account for and to defend. It's really special to watch.
Yep. Crazy. He's something, man. You pair him, like him and McKinnon on the same team is wild. Like crazy when you think about it. Yeah, that's a big one tonight in Dallas. That's a big one. You got Carolina, New York tonight, too. It's going to be a fun one. We'll do it again soon. Thank you, Pierre.
Right on, guys. Talk to you later.
There's Pierre LeBrun down in Dallas. I'm sure.
Why does he say that at the end?
That's his thing,
every
man.
I love it.
That's his thing. He's got a thing. I like it. I like that he's got a thing. We have our thing. You know, we'll chat. Yeah. We'll chat then. He's got his thing. He's down in Dallas. We didn't ask him about the Cowboys, but I would guess he's stopping people in the street trying to engage in conversation on that. And, yeah, the NFL, again, like we said the other day, they've got the schedule release coming out next week. So full breakdown of what we think of the NFL sched coming up.
Specials on ESPN about it.
Oh,
I think we should have Al's brother and Luke on and do some spotlight games when the schedule gets released.
I like that because we're going to know what we're going to be picking, right? Like we'll know the Thursday nighters, the Sunday nighters, the Monday nighters.
Yeah. I think like an overview of the NFL schedule and like all of us in studio to chat about it would be awesome.
I miss the NFL. I miss it.
Do.
I love it. It's so amazing. I miss it.
I can't wait to see the Chargers just be garbage again.
I don't know. Harbaugh's down there
No way,
now.
dude.
Harbaugh's down there. Harbaugh's going to have a different feel. He's going to have a different vibe. They got to
500 they miss. 500 they miss next year.
Miss the playoffs?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't make the playoffs this year, so
Right. But everyone's like, oh, yeah, they're losers. They lose every year. And I hate to get to this point. I think Herbert's overrated, man. Everyone talks about this gunslinger in the arm. I think he's overrated.
He's like Phillip Rivers in that. He puts up really good statistics.
Yeah,
He's a
might
really
get
good
into the
player.
Hall of Fame, but he doesn't get it done.
Yeah, and it's always somebody else's problem. You know, like you talk about blowing a lead. Remember that lead they lost? They blew to the Jags a couple of years ago. They were up like 28-3 or something crazy like that, just like the Falcons were. But anyway, all right, we got Ryan Rishaug coming up. Our best bets are brought to you by FanDuel. Still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Rangers, Carolina tonight. Dallas, Colorado. Carolina's got to have a win tonight. It's mandatory tonight.
Got to.
I would say Dallas probably does too. I wouldn't play with fire twice, but they did lose 2 at home against Vegas. Went back to Vegas, won both there, ended up winning that series.
I got a Charles Barkley guarantee. If you want some action here.
Yeah, what do you got?
Oh, yeah?
Guarantee Kane win. I'll guarantee you a Canes win. Do you want a little love?
I don't know, man. I'm worried about this Kachetkov going in. That scares me, man.
Let's just keep it at 500 to keep ourselves
all right,
interested.
why not? A little action tonight. I'll take the Rangers.
All right.
I'll take the blue shirts. All right? I think Shesterkin's going to be tough to beat tonight. Stuart Skinner, is he the guy we're talking about in Edmonton? Is it him? Is it Draisaitl? How about the captain? McDavid no-showed last night. Let's head out there. Here's our buddy Ryan Rishaug. He's actually in Vancouver. What's the main storyline today, Shaug, in terms of what happened last night?
Well, Draisaitl is going to be the thing. There's no development. Like Chris Knobloch just said, day to day, I'll let you know tomorrow kind of thing. So he was not on the ice today. My gut is he will play. He finished the game, and then today at practice on his line, they had Sam Gagner as a placeholder. And it was a full skate. If they think he's not going to be available, then they build new lines and practice in those lines today, rather than just have a placeholder for him. And this guy played through a wicked high ankle sprain there a little while ago. So it takes a lot to keep that guy out of the lineup. And that's the number one story relevant in terms of heading into game 2. He's just too good a player. That is a major. But my gut is he's going to play, guys.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I mean, mandatory, right? Go ahead, Noodles.
Exactly. So you're watching that game last night, and what do you make of it? I mean, they're up 4-1. They seem to be in control of the game, even though they're not playing well. What are they saying today about them choking off a 3-goal lead and the way it went down? Really, I thought Vancouver was the better team for about 2 periods there. What's the narrative coming out of the dressing room today?
Yeah, I mean, they know they left a lot on the table. They know they blew an opportunity. They know they weren't at their best. They don't love the way that they played overall. They're not getting too down. I mean, la-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da, right? All the things you say in that situation. Bottom line, guys, there's a way you have to play to have success in the playoffs. And there's like this base level of intensity that's required. And what comes with that intensity is guys throwing body checks. Doesn't matter who you are. Just everybody has to kind of do that in the playoffs because that's what you need. It comes down to shooting pucks on net. When you have good opportunities, don't waste them. I mean, this team went 2 periods with either 4 or 5 even strength shots on net through 2 periods. And I get they're defending a lead, but it doesn't matter. Like there's a way you have to play in the playoffs to have a chance to go where you want to go. And the Oilers weren't near that last night. And quite frankly, I don't think they were there for a lot of the LA series either. It's like shift after shift. You know that look, guys, when we're watching a Stanley Cup final, it's like you can't even tell who's on the ice because all the lines look the same because they all do the same thing. They skate fast and they hit hard. The Oilers aren't there. Like they're not there and they don't have it in their game. I don't think the LA Kings were going to bring that out of them because you got to play a certain way against LA, but it's time for them to find it. Like they need to find it. Like Darnell Nurse, Cody Ceci, Vinny Desharnais. 19 and a half feet worth of defensemen, 0 hits in that game. Darnell Nurse has 1 hit in his last 5 games registered. That is not, and it's not just all about hits, you guys, but I'm talking about a base level of intensity and commitment to playing a certain way that they got to find here. Because they didn't need it to get through the first round, they're going to need it.
Ray, sure, you're looking forward to watching game 2. Is it the goaltender or McDavid? Who are you kind of going to lock eyes on, you think, the most?
Both. Honestly, and I'm not to be a fence sitter here for you, but that's a missed opportunity for Stuart Skinner, right? He had a bump in the first round, and he bounced back well. Played really strong to close out the series, and then 40 minutes into that game, and you're like, he's got the guy at the other end on the ropes, right? Sheloff is struggling, and then Skinner really, really struggled. So that was a big step back for him. Now, he's a good bounce-back goalie. He's shown he can learn from his mistakes. He did it in the first round, but remember last year in the second round how bad it got for him. So you have to be watching that one. But Connor McDavid, too. Like, Connor McDavid has a shot on net. That's never happened. That's the first time it's ever happened. Didn't have any big signature moments. I thought Connor McDavid might get shot out of a cannon in that game, guys. All this rest, all this time, I thought he would go and grab that game by the throat. And while the team scored early and got a lead, so maybe they didn't have to push quite as hard, it was not a McDavid-esque performance. And then when they were down, I thought he wasn't able to get a lot done there either. So, that was not a great night for him by his standards. So all eyes on him in game 2 for sure.
With Ryan Rishaug, Oilers blowing a 4-1 lead last night. Vancouver ends up taking game 1. And the Canucks were 4-0 against the Oilers during the regular season, including opening night of the regular season. They beat them 8-0. And obviously they stormed back and win last night. Like, it feels like, I can speak for the rest of the country, or at least people in Toronto, it's like Edmonton's going to win this. McDavid, Draisaitl, you can't stop it. I don't know if that's the feeling in Edmonton, but at what point, if you're not there already, do you start flipping and saying, why aren't we talking about Vancouver being the favorites? Because they were the higher seed and they played well against the Oilers all year, and look what happened last night. Like, where are you at with pendulum swing and maybe the Canucks not getting enough love?
I don't necessarily agree that narrative was off base coming into the series. Like, everybody seemed really surprised that the Oilers were as heavily favored. Like, look at the Canucks and what a regular season and all that. The Vancouver Canucks don't have their starting goalie, and their best offensive player has been a ghost. Mm-hmm. So when you combine those two things and you're prognosticating the series, no doubt Demko and Pettersson playing the way he was, of course it's going to be a massive swing in Edmonton's direction. So I'm not kind of fundamentally as offended by that idea. They should be underdogs with what was going on with the Vancouver Canucks. But to your point, 5 in a row is 5 in a row. I mean, at a certain point, I don't care how long ago it was, if every time you step up to the plate against someone, they're striking you out, that's got to get in your head at a certain point. That's just missed opportunity last game, you guys. They had them on the ropes, just absolutely squashed this narrative that if they can't beat the Canucks this year, and they totally spit the bit. And by spitting the bit, the other thing they did is they're building more comeback confidence for a team that already has a ton of comeback confidence. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. To be down against this team, this high-octane, high-offense team, and to come back in game 1 of the series, the Vancouver Canucks are going to sit real comfortable no matter what the score is for the rest of this series because of what they did here. There's no doubt in their mind, no matter what the score is going to be. That's a big missed opportunity for the Oilers to end that narrative, and instead they gave a bunch of confidence to these guys. No matter what situation they're in, they're going to feel okay.
Rishi, you mentioned Pettersson being a ghost. Like, what? And I understand when you don't have it and you're in Mars on the ice, it looks like you're disinterested. What the hell's he up to out there? Like, he's nowhere.
Yeah, I will point to the fact that he tried to engage physically last night. Like, he sent himself like a missile a couple of times at guys, and he didn't connect on them necessarily, but he was trying. The other thing I'll point to is when they were down and then when they were tied and when they were defending a lead, he got ice time through all of those important minutes. So whatever Rick Tocchet saw from him last night, he liked it better than what he's seen before. Because I think Pettersson played like 9 minutes in the third period or something like that. So I think maybe that's a baby step in that he was a usable player in the third period of a tight game. But to your point, Since when did that become the standard for him? Is he usable or not in a one-goal game? Like, the standard for him is way higher, and it should be. So offensively, yes, not even close, hasn't been. But I think last night we saw an indication that there was some competitiveness there. He tried to throw some big hits. He tried to be engaged, and, you know, it's like the head coach is just looking for a sign. Give me any reason to keep putting you out there. Give me any reason to inject some confidence, and Pettersson showed him enough, and so we got a minutes late in that game.
Is Adam Henrique close to playing, you think? Because it looks like Vogel's up there now on that McDavid line where they had tried out Janmark.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just, if it's a revolving door, I mean, they were comfortable, I think, with Henrique, but I thought I read your note that he only took half practice today.
Yeah, I mean, he was out there for the whole thing, Noodles, but you know what it's like when you're skating in your lines and you've got a bunch of extra guys out there because it's playoff time. What you don't do is you don't mix the extra guys in and muck up your game lines. Like, sometimes they'll just sit back and let the lines run. And that's what Henrique did today. He didn't take any notable line rushes where he went out there and got into the rotation. They rotated the four lines that they had. There were a couple of substitutions, but based on what I saw today, I think it still feels a little bit doubtful because he just wasn't a regular part of it. And I'm looking for progression from him, like skating with the main group, taking part in all the drills. You know, when we see him on a line that looks like it's ready to play, then that'll change. But I would say I would bet more on Draisaitl tomorrow than Henrique. Maybe I'll be dead wrong, but that's just my read on it today.
Brian Rashad, Chris Knoblauch, when he got the job, he wasn't a guy that a lot of people were that familiar with. Obviously, he did a remarkable job. He did not end up getting nominated for the Jack Adams. I'm not sure it's a surprise, but were you thinking that was a possibility, considering what he did the final 65, 70 games?
You know, I think if he did, it wouldn't have been like, what the heck is that about? But I think the problem there, guys, is that I think everybody knew that team was better than it was showing. Everybody knew that team was right for a turnaround. It's not like he took a group of misfits and turned them around, right? He took a hell of a good team, helped get them back on the rails, and helped them not get in their way. I think he did a great job, and I think it would have been deserving. But I'm not going to sit here and advocate for it and say that he absolutely should have been and that it's a travesty that he wasn't. It would have made some sense to me. Mm-hmm. He's done a lot of really good things. He's shown a really nice bench touch. He's shown a really nice, when he tries things, quite often they work. He's handled some situations with different players and sending messages and stuff. He's done a pretty good job on a number of important files. So I would say that he's quietly earned the respect of his group, a group that was pissed off when their coach got fired. But I think he's earned their respect. I think they trust him. They're well prepared. I like the way he handles in-game most things. But you could argue a couple minor missteps last game, guys. It's minor things and they're hindsight things. But that was unusual. Normally he's got a really good touch.
I don't know if you've heard, but the Leafs are looking for a new coach. I don't know if that news got out for us, but
no, I didn't blow up my feed at all.
Yeah.
You can set up your Twitter feed to ignore certain words so that you just don't even get those notifications.
Okay.
And so
that's wise.
Strudwick is one of them.
Yes.
And Leafs is the other.
Strudwick's been blocked and reported many times from people in this town.
Pretty quiet from that guy
Oh,
today. That
Struddy.
bald head was making fun of us yesterday, but he had nothing today.
Did you guys invite him on the show after the
No, we're not allowed to because he whined every time we had him on. It was after the Oilers lost, and he complained, so we stopped doing it. And now he can only come on after they win.
No, see, this is the thing. He wants to come on after a Leafs loss.
Yes.
And until you guys do that, he's going to be complaining. He feels that you guys stuck him every time things go wrong in Leafland. That is his gut. So I'm just telling you.
Okay. He was on yesterday laughing.
It took 4 days, 5 days. It took 4 or 5 days for us to build up some courage to have him on. You know what? He was good until he wasn't good, and then he, you know what? At the end, it was like, all right, you're going to try. He was trying too hard to poke.
He was bothering people. Exactly.
Yeah.
He was poking and he was trolling, and it went over the top. And
And that's it?
yeah,
He
it
had
was.
his card pulled?
Well,
Like,
we'll have him on again. I mean, listen, if the Oilers lose, believe me, Strutty will be on immediately. He can come on for 3 hours if he wants. Like that'll be
It's
an
no fun
open.
if you're not trolling a little. You got to get in. You got to dig around a little in there.
I agree.
Like even before this series started with Edmonton and Vancouver, we were in a scrum, and I said to Evander Kane, like, you know the Vancouver fan base well. You played junior there and stuff. You know you're favorite here in Edmonton, Evander. How would you compare these two fan bases? And he looked at me and goes, "That question, Ryan."
Yeah.
I am not taking that bait.
Yeah.
My point is we got to rabble rouse a little here and there. Tony.
That's great. I mean, listen, I'm assuming there's a lot of Edmonton, people in Vancouver, and probably vice versa, right? Like a lot of Vancouver fans will get up to Edmonton for Game 3.
That building was on fire last night, guys. Like, I live and work in Edmonton, and that being playoff time, that building comes alive for sure. But I have to say, Vancouver was pretty impressive last night. Good atmosphere, loud, intense, crazy. Like, a couple of pretty loud buildings we got.
I love it. All right, buddy. Well, enjoy the rest of the series. We'll do it again, I'm sure, before it's over.
All right, sounds good, guys.
There it is. Brian Rashog joining us from Vancouver ahead of Game 2 tomorrow night. Oilers-Canucks. And,
it did look like it was rocking last night like that.
Well, when Garland scored, the place was in.
Yeah.
Good on that guy, man. That guy. One thing I've heard everything about that guy. Where the one thing he's got a belief in himself. He can't tell enough. Yeah, he can't tell enough people that he thinks he should play more and he's better. He should be playing with better players. Mm-hmm. And you know what? This second half of this year, he's gone out there and been a big difference maker. With that Joshua, like he's been a hell of a player, so good on him. He believes in himself, and he backed it up the second half. Like it's better than some guy that's like, nah, I'll just do my thing and collect money, and whatever happens, happens. So you got to give that guy some props. Absolutely. I got a lot of time for that.
Yeah, he plays hard, and he's a pain in the ass to play against.
And he always wants to play more, Noodles. There's a bunch of guys, and I'll be brutally honest. I went through a phase where I'm like, if I'm getting benched, screw it. I'll just sit here. I don't care. Not everybody says, get me out there more. I want to do more. I want to play with better players. So good on the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's played well.
Yeah, Canucks up 1-0.
Yeah,
it's big, man. I mean, they take both at home. They win Game 2. It's panic time in Edmonton, like full-blown panic, because that'll be 6 wins in a row. Where I know what we said coming in. You're like, oh, go talk to Winnipeg about Colorado. Okay, well, yes, that one. Colorado showed up and said we don't care about the regular season. If Vancouver beats them again tomorrow night, like that's a pretty big message.
Well, it was ugly for Game 1, remember, for Colorado, and then they woke up like that, and they haven't really looked back since.
No,
like
they haven't. They haven't lost since. And they only lost because Georgiev was a disaster. They lost 7-6 Game 1.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Edmonton lost 5-4, and the goalie needed to be better. He needs a response next game.
Yeah, he sure does.
After the next break, we're going to do it every day until we're done for the summer. Hunge in the pot every day if you predict the guy that scores the first goal of the night.
Okay, I like that. Sounds like a best bet. I love that, man. Let's do it. Today's best bet's powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds in the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to reverse the fortune from what I said Game 1. I'm going over the number Dallas, Colorado. I just feel like Colorado's just going to keep scoring. And Dallas kind of understands that they have to keep doing it too. Over the number. I got Cale Makar, 3+ shots on goal tonight. Yes, a goal in the first 10 minutes. That parlay paying plus 300. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. FanDuel's goal in the first 10 minutes is the most electric bet in hockey and can be included in a same-game parlay on any NHL game. Please play responsibly. 18+, physically located in Ontario. We'll come back and pick the first goal scorer for the games tonight.
All right.
Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Sebastian Aho. I will take Sebastian Aho right out of the gate for Carolina on the board first.
Svechnikov.
Okay.
Seth Jarvis.
Wow,
like
all
that. We're all on
Caniacs.
Carolina.
All Caniacs. There's a lot of dough available at the end of the rainbow here.
Okay.
You just keep trucking. Doogie, keep a tally. See if any. Watch none of us hit for like a month.
Well, it'll be the rain. You know, we could pick the Rangers too, I guess. But
you want a Ranger too?
Chris Kreider.
I'll go Vincent Trocheck's.
I'll go the bread man.
Okay.
I like it. All right. What about the nightcap?
No, this is just for the first goal of the night. This challenge is called the first goal of the night challenge.
Okay. All right.
All right.
What if? Yeah, I guess what if it's 0-0 triple OT and the Dallas game starts? What happens?
You want to get interested? You want to pick? I'll go Robertson.
That's what I was thinking.
Come on. 50
nice
guys
all
on the ice. That's who you were thinking.
Rupe Hintz. I'll go with Rupe.
Nate McKinnon.
What a call! You should do play-by-play.
I know. You got to roll the R. That's right.
I'm gonna go Nichushkins.
So we're taking one from each team.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Rantanen.
All right. So then I've got Dallas. Who do we have? Robertson and Hintz?
Yep.
You can have Robertson. I'll take Sagan.
No. I want Wyatt Johnston.
Ooh, good pick.
I'm taking Sagan. Forget it.
Robertson. All right, I'll
No.
stick with Rupe. All right, there you go, Hintsy. I like it
Hintsy.
tonight. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
All right, Doogie, JP, Joe from the Bridge, everyone behind the scenes. Thanks for helping out today. We appreciate it. As always, don't forget full coverage tomorrow of the Pelly Shanahan Tree Living presser right here on TSN, and full breakdown tomorrow. So we look forward to that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
Bye.